Hey, it's me again. So I'm continuing to just make some videos that I can get published on YouTube while I'm on vacation. It's Thursday night. I'm leaving in 2 days for up to a week. The last video that I put out there was about what happens if something happens to my Southwest, what becomes my main cue, as I kind of am right now. Which one do I pick? Which ones are contenders? So this scenario is going to be just a little bit different, and I'm not entirely sure how I want to describe it. There are some things about having a really nice cue or a really expensive cue that kind of, to some people, can kind of seem like they're showing off or bragging just a little bit, just by showing up. Just by, if I take my Southwest into my local pool hall, a lot of those people in there have never seen anything like that before. And they're like, well, la-di-da, Mr. President, he's got, super fancy cue. And a lot of the cues that I just had in my last video are kind of like that. They kind of seem a little bit uppity. Not my intention at all, but I can understand how people can kind of think that. If somebody's got some, $100 player's cue or whatever, and in walks a guy with a $3,500 Tim Scruggs, I can kind of see it, well, they might be a little bit intimidated. And I don't even want that. I don't want to intimidate people just by having a cue, but it could certainly seem just a little bit, like I said, a little bit uppity, like I'm a little bit, full of myself. Even whether I am or not, it can kind of seem that way, and I can understand that. So what I want to do with this video is, I'll say, I'm going to take all that to heart, and I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm not going to go out into public with, my super nicest cues, my most expensive cues, whatever. I'm going to basically try to look like a league player. I enjoyed playing pool league for a decade. And, the reasons that I quit playing pool league were because of all the accusations of sandbagging and the actual sandbagging. It wasn't because it stopped being fun or because, I outgrew it as a pool player or whatever. It was, I just got tired of it. I was a league operator in Seattle, and I just got tired of it. Every night, a half dozen people are coming to me, he's a sandbagger, he's a sandbagger. Or I would be watching a guy, and I'd know, hey, I just watched this guy pay a $1,000 set the other day at another place, and he's a 4? No. I would see this kind of stuff all the time, and one of my least favorite things on earth is cheaters, and sandbagging is cheating. And so, yeah, hate him. Anyway, so want to get back to, let's say, hey, I'm 57 now. All those cheaters are probably dead by now. So I'm going to get back in the league. But I don't want to show up for my league match with my Southwest or something like that. I want to look like a regular league player and not have everybody think I'm trying to show off with a cue. So that's what this list is for. A couple of these cues were on my last video, and this is one of them. This is my Rundy Sean. Sean cue. A lot of league players have Sean cues. Now, not a lot of league players have cues from the mid 80s that are Sean's with sharp points. But it's still it's just a Sean. So for me, there's nothing like. I don't think anybody would look at this and go, "Well, he must think he's really special." I don't think so. I'm talking about league guys here. There might be some, really, top level player that might see that and think, well, he must think he's really special. I'm just talking about league guys. So I'm talking about league players. I can't say league guys. That's not politically correct. So another cue that was also on my other list is my peach hour. The one that I call my main peach hour. I believe I shoot better with this cue than anything else. I said in my last video. If this cue had sharp points, I don't even know if I'd have ever bought the Southwest, because I love the way this cue looks, and I absolutely love the way this cue plays with the stock shaft. The Sean actually has a low squirt shaft on it, but love this cue. Again, hit better with that than anything else. Shoot better with that than anything else. So the other, league cue that would be a contender for being a league cue. And this has to be on the list, okay? This is my oldest possession. This is a Sean R12. I bought this in 1991 as a divorce present from myself to myself. At the time, for the longest time, I thought it was an SL7 because it has rounded points. But I've since been told that because it has sharp points on the diamonds, that makes it an R12. And I guess the dates make it an R12 as well. I know for a fact that I bought this in April of 1991 because that's when me and my ex split up. This is the original shaft that came with it. It has been rewrapped and refinished. This was my main shooting cue for 20 years. And it'll, always have a soft spot in my heart for this cue. And I often feel bad when I think about, hey, I haven't shot with this R12 in a while. I have to take it off the wall and knock some balls around with it, because that's what cues are made for. So get balls knocked around with them. They like that. If they had any emotions, which they probably don't. So he's absolutely would be a contender for me as a league player. Next one on this list, and this cue, well, this is a McDermott D21, and I bought this a couple years ago, and I never owned one of these before. But when I first moved to Omaha, Nebraska, we had a rec center on base with pool tables in it, and I would go there quite often. One of the guys that was in there, he wasn't military, he was the spouse of a military girl. He had one of these. And this D21 was the first cue I ever remember looking at and going, oh my gosh, that's so pretty. I would look at other cues and go, okay, it's a cue, that looks okay, whatever. But this guy had a D21, and man, it was awesome. So I, over the years, have searched the internet, and I bought this one pretty much as is. It arrived in almost pristine condition. I did ship it back to McDermott to get some weight added to it. Actually, the hole wasn't deep enough for the weight that I needed, so I couldn't put a weight bolt in it with that and get it over like 18.5 ounces. So I shipped it back to McDermott so they could drill it out for me. And now it's like almost 20 ounces, which is what I played with back in my McDermott days. I like this cue a lot. This is, in case it's ever on Jeopardy, just for trivia night or whatever, this is my squirtiest cue. And it's really not even close. This cue squirts more than anything I have that's got a joint. I probably have a couple of house cues over here that squirt more than this, but maybe not even then. I don't know if the camera can pick up some of the intricacy of the old McDermott ring work, the points, the veneers, the sharpness of everything. The old McDermotts, like I said, the intricacies, they match that of any of today's custom cue makers. What I've been told is that Evan Clark did a lot of the McDermott points back in the day. So Evan Clark may very well have put this on. Evan Clark of Sean Q's fame. So like this a lot. Speaking of McDermott's, this right here is a D12. And for me, it all started with a D12. Now I had Kmart specials and stuff like that. For some reason, me and my ex-wife bought Dufferins at one point, like semi-matching Dufferins. And I had a Schmelke, and this is over a period of like 3 years total. And then the Schmelke broke in half. I leaned against the wall, and it fell over, and it broke in half right here. So my buddy Tim, who I hung out with all the time back then, this was in my Omaha days, we went to this place called Big John's, and they also sold cues, and he bought me the D12. I would love to get that original D12 back, but this is not it. This is a replacement for it. I searched the internet, and shit. 15 years later, I finally found a D12 for sale, and I snagged on it, and it was beat all to shit. I think there's a video. I don't remember if I put it on YouTube or not, but I made a video of me unboxing it, and it was just beat to shit. I wasn't sure it was going to be salvageable, but I sent it to Rick Filippi, and he sent it back in basically almost new condition. And he also put the new wrap on it. It had I think it just had a nylon wrap that had a bunch of tears in it. It was crap. If you can see any of the red, almost all the red in this cue was brown with age and misuse and things like that. He brought it back. This is what my old cue looked like, except I had a black linen wrap on my cue. It would be very fitting, I think, if I was going to, decide to be a league player again, to show up with what started it all. I started out as a league player with a McDermott D12. So yeah, that would be cool, I think. Back in those days, I think I mentioned this before, there were, amongst my group of league people, there were like two camps. There was the McDermott people, and there were the Mucci people. Some of the old timers would have like a Palmer and stuff like that, but my group of people, mostly Air Force people, early 20s type of thing, McDermott or Mucci. And I was very firmly in the McDermott camp because of that D12. I had a roommate who was very firmly in the Mucci camp, because he owned the Mucci, but we didn't like each other very much. And I always said, no, I'll never own a Mucci, no way. Anyway, I own like 3 of them now. 3? Yeah, I own 3 Muccis now. This one is an HOF1, and my understanding is this is a copy of one of the models that they had from back in the day, 80s or 90s, that was a popular model. So this is not like the original. This is HOF1, Hall of Fame 1, a copy of that other one. And one of my buddies at my local pool hall has one of the originals. And every time he would show up and shoot with that, I'd always just admire the cue. And by this time, I'd already owned a couple of the Muccis, and I knew they didn't suck as much as I guess I had hoped that Muccis would suck, because back in the day, we always just, oh man, Muccis suck, we got to get McDermott's. All of the Muccis that I've hit with are perfectly fine. And somehow they can paint a red dot on the shaft and make it a semi-low deflection shaft. One of my other ones has a black circle on the shaft and somehow makes it a low. I don't know how they do that, some kind of voodoo or something. But this is a very pretty cue, very pretty cue. It will last forever. The wrap will last forever because it's got this polish or whatever on it. This finish on the wrap is the reason I never liked. One of the main reasons I didn't like Mucci's back then. I thought it was silly. Why put a wrap on a cue and then cover it up with polyurethane or whatever this is? I always thought it was silly. Now I kind of understand, because this is going to last and you're never going to have to replace it, short of some abuse. If you have a linen wrap or nylon wrap, you're going to have to replace it just because you use it, because your hands sweat and shit like that. Anyway, I really like this, and I could absolutely see myself going into some league match with this Mucci. So the last one I have on my list is right up there with the Peachar as being my best hitting cue. I believe that this Peachar that I showed before is my absolute best hitting cue. But this guy, which I bought at Derby, is my Joss N7. Color money cue, not a Balbushka. And it hits fantastic. And I play quite well with it. I don't think I play as well with this as I do with the Peachar, But I don't play as often with this as I do with the PGR. But every time I pick this up, I'm just amazed by how good it hits. And I'm going to do another video about, my top hitting cues. I've done one of these before, but I'm going to do it again. This is absolutely up there, and this may even be at the top of the list of quality of hit. And so that's it. These are my league cues. If something happens and I say I'm going to start playing league again, and I don't want to seem uppity or stuck up or whatever, then right now it would be one of these 7 cues that I would play my league matches with. Hey guys.